This chapter of One Piece makes the previous Sanji backstory with Zeff and Sanji stuck on the island so much more tragic after looking at this chapter's flashback. Wow. Gotta say, Oda, that was a job well done when it came to the writing of that flashback, especially the meaning it carries towards Zeff, the, I guess, fill-in of the father spot for Sanji's life. So let's talk about it. With this chapter, we get to see, once again, Sanji's backstory with his family and how Judge, his real biological father, treated him. And we get a lot of confirmation about said characters. For instance, Reiju, for instance, the character that is Sanji's sister. We see how she does care for Sanji, and as I stated in my last chapter review, that maybe she is the entire reason why Sanji was able to escape in the first place, and he does. He manages to get out thanks to Reiju actually saving him. But the big thing about this chapter is that Judge, he disowns Sanji. I mean, we already knew this is kind of what happened, but you legit see how this man, like, tells Sanji right face to face, like, this is a blessing that you're leaving right now, that you're going away. Like, this is a father telling his son, his actual biological son, saying, I'm happy you're leaving, I'm happy you're walking out that fucking door, I'm so glad you're leaving, or I don't have to see your face anymore because you're just such a stain on my existence. When a father says that to a son, that's just, that shouldn't happen. A father should not say that to the child, and a child shouldn't have to hear that from their own father. But on top of that, when a father says, I disown you, I don't want you ever mentioning my name or our family name ever when you're out there, it's sad. And, I mean, to see the way his father treated him, it's disgusting, it's sad, and I just feel bad for Sanji overall. I mean, even to the backstory of why he wanted all blue now, to how he became a chef, it just makes so much more sense. And also his trait of, you know, liking women, it makes so much more sense now after seeing this flashback. And then when you think about the previous flashback with Zeff and how Sanji lived with this person that wasn't his biological father, but he cared for him like a father, now we see how fucked up this is. Because a person that wasn't even related to Sanji by blood cared more about Sanji than Sanji's own biological father, which is Judge. And that disgusts me. It disgusts me so much in the way that worked out. I mean, you now understand when Sanji as a kid was crying when he met Zeff and all that, and how connected he was to this man. It makes so much more sense now because of what his other family was like, how they treated him, how his father said, don't ever mention my name and all that. You're like, yo, that's just so fucked. It's really fucked up. And let's just dive into the mentality Sanji had as a kid and what drove him to be a chef to also, you know, wanting all blue. So, one of the big goals that Sanji's had as a character is to eventually get to all blue. It's one of the big things he's wanted, one of the big things he's always searched for, and that's one of the main reasons why he's a part of the Straw Hats. And we do know Zeff, the person that's not the biological father of Sanji, but I guess you could say the main father since he cares more about Sanji than Judge does. Sanji's, like, I guess, you know, unbiological father, Zeff, wants all blue as well. That was one of his big dreams. Sanji and Zeff share a similar dream. So Sanji was able to connect more with this person, and we finally get to see why Sanji had this dream in the first place. So, Sanji gets the Iron Mask. He's locked in the prison. It's been a while now, and his father's still sitting in Mill. So, his father couldn't necessarily kill off his son. He has some form of attachment to humanity, even though he is an evil bastard, and he is despicable, and he's a horrible, horrible father. At the very least, he has some form of humanity to where he doesn't want to murder his own son. He won't let his own son die from starvation or whatever, so he still feeds his son, even though he's locked away and casted aside. But the point stands is Sanji was locked away in this cell for a long time. And over time, after getting food and stuff, he was reading books to, you know, cooking food and stuff like that. And eventually he was reading books about fantasies and stuff like that, which eventually led him to All Blue. So Sanji, living this very dark and despicable life that he didn't like living at the time, he found comfort in fairy tales or, you know, stories. For instance, All Blue. And I'm not saying All Blue is a fairy tale. I'm not saying it's something that doesn't exist in One Piece, because there's a lot of crazy things in One Piece. I'm just saying Sanji as a child felt comfort in reading a story about the All Blue because it made him forget about what life he was currently living. And it's kind of a little bit of a deep story and deep meaning to this chapter, which I'm very glad Oda did, because it's something you don't normally see, especially in a shonen series with the meaning behind it. So I gotta say, Oda, when it came to that writing of this chapter, especially with the flashback, well done. That was a very good part of this chapter, just seeing how Sanji had to dive into stories just to forget everything, and how he dived into cooking for he could forget about the torment he was currently living with his life. Now, the reason for Sanji wanting to cook and why he changed and wanted to better himself as a chef was because of his mother. Now, we get to see his mother for the first time, Sanji's actual mother. This kind of throws out the side of the Vegapunk, you know, Fury, but still, the big thing is, though, Sanji's mother is sickly, which is kind of something we see often in One Piece. When it came to that part of the writing of One Piece, it's something we've seen quite often. I mean, either a mother's sick or about to die, or she's already dead thanks to a flashback, and when the child is, you know, parentless. And that's kind of what Sanji's kind of stacking up to be right now. So when it came to, like, the foundation blocks of this flashback, Sanji's living a similar lifestyle to how some other Straw Hat crew has, or a majority of the characters throughout One Piece. For instance, their mother dies. So, with Sanji's mother, it's kind of simplistic. It's something we have seen before. It's nothing overall original. But Sanji's mother is sickly, she's dying, and Sanji wanted to make her something, and he wasn't really a good chef at the time. He wasn't an expert chef we see nowadays in the present timeline of One Piece. This man couldn't barely cook, and he wants to deliver his mother some food. Even though it's raining, it's storming, it's really bad, he goes through the weather to try to feed his mother, and the food drops on the ground, and he still wants to deliver it to her, at least, you know, bring it to her. And when he gets there, his mother accepts it and eats it, even though the food is pretty much bad. It's not good. In first place, it's not even good because he messed it up. It doesn't taste good at all. But on top of that, he dropped it and he ruined it. So he expected his mother not to want it, but his mother ate it regardless. And it just goes to show you how much connection that she has with Sanji and how much she does care for Sanji. And this explains maybe why Sanji really cares for women, because all the women in his life that we have seen so far now in his flashbacks has actually cared for him and been nice to him. I mean, think about his brothers, think about his father. They don't give a rat's ass about Sanji. They literally don't give anything about him. They don't give a shit. And if you look at Reiju and if you look at Sanji's mother, you see how they actually deeply care for him, which might explain why Sanji grew an attachment to women and why he wants to protect them, because they helped him at a young age. It's someone he really looks up to. Like, he looks up to women of how much they've really helped him when he was younger. So that might explain his personality trait, why he loves women as much as he does. So it's kind of sad when you think about it, how Sanji's goal for All Blue and how or the reason why he likes women so much came from his disruptive, or I guess tragic childhood. Now we know why he is like he is. So Oda, very good job diving into the flashback of Sanji. I really enjoyed that. I really did enjoy that with this chapter. Very good chapter. But then we get into the final bits of the chapter, which I'm saving for last. So, the final bits of the chapter, I'm just going to be straight up honest with all of you. I understand the point of view of where Oda's coming from, and it's not something that's entirely new to One Piece. We've seen it before. But I'm just going to say the final page of the chapter. Not a fan. Not a fan. Not a fan. Now, I'm not saying this was a bad chapter, because I loved that Sanji stuff. Very good stuff. Very good writing. And One Piece does have comedy every so often. Even comedy to progress the plot. We've seen this before, even in the Dressrosa arc. Luffy, he's been fighting Cracker for a while now. He's been fighting him for hours. Many, many hours. And this person is a very strong, you know, subordinate of Big Mom. This is someone that's not a pushover. This is someone that shouldn't be defeated by comedy's sake. And Luffy is fighting this man by eating his soldiers, the biscuit soldiers. And, okay, at first glance, it seems like it's okay because it's One Piece, it's a shonen and all that type of stuff. But the big thing that bothers me is that Luffy was struggling with this man, Luffy was using Gear 4 against this man, and he was struggling. He couldn't even beat the soldiers. They didn't have Haki infused. They were blocking Luffy's Gear 4, and, you know, they were just holding up. They were completely fine. They were completely fine with Luffy, you know, using Gear 4 against them. They were standing up and being able to hold off his Gear 4 attacks. But apparently, Luffy has been fighting for hours, and he's been eating the biscuit soldiers. He's been eating all of them and been running, eating them all, running and eating, running, and I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. It's a comedy moment because it fits with Luffy's appetite, but I'm not a fan of how Gear 4 is pretty much, it's said in this chapter that Gear 4 it couldn't work, but apparently Luffy eating the biscuit soldiers can. I'm like, what the fuck? So Luffy's not in Gear 4, he's eating the soldiers, it's completely fine. The only thing that makes sense about this, I would assume, is because of the saliva in Luffy's mouth. For instance, you know, if like bread or a biscuit gets wet, it gets soggy and softer. That's the only thing I can assume that's going on here, illogically. I'm assuming the only logic to this is since Luffy can expand and he can eat something, his saliva is softening the biscuit soldiers, I mean, that they're easy to deal with. That's the only thing that makes logical sense with that fight or this comedy scene. But besides that, though, I'm just not a big fan. I'm just not a fan of that. I mean, it just really kind of irked me because he had such glorious writing, these, like, you know, all the pages of this chapter until the final page of the chapter with Luffy eating the biscuit soldiers. I'm like, it's not the comedy. It's not the comedy. It's just the fact that Gear 4 couldn't win against this man, but eating the soldiers could. It doesn't, I mean, yeah. But like I said, the only thing that makes sense about it is probably the saliva, but I don't know if that's really what's going on here. Regardless, though, chapter overall, it was a good chapter. I did enjoy the chapter. It was a fun chapter, sad chapter, and so yeah, can't wait to see what happens next week. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.